All right, we're back again. Seem to have a bad connection with one of my USB cables. I keep bumping it. All right, so here we've got our barrel plug for power. We've got our camera. Now the first thing we're gonna do, before we do anything else, is we're gonna crack this thing open. So just real quick, get an idea. There are 4 Phillips screws over here. Get this cable out of the way. Seems like a pretty nice, pretty well-made camera. Here's our reset, our SD card slot. Now we just need a Phillips. Doesn't like that one. Try this one. That one's good. So it's 4 screws on the back here to tear it down. It's actually fairly tough to get to these two. Try and drop these screws out. The bottom ones are not dropping out that way. That's okay. Here is the board. So here we have an Ingenic T23. And it looks like, as we expected, this was going to be the new variant that we don't have support for yet because it's got a new Wi-Fi chip that we haven't run into before. So we're still adding that. So, step number 2, let's go ahead and put this one back together and we'll move to the other one. Still end up going through this one and looking at the factory firmware to see if we have an option for that SD card install, but I'll be doing that after we get this one squared away, this other one squared away. So, box number 2, AOSU. Looks like exactly the same camera. And hopefully this one has the older insides. Now, as I recall, let me jump over to Thingino.com real quick. As I recall, this one is supposed to have a Ingenic T31. Yep, T31L, and a 3 megapixel image sensor, Realtek, Ethernet, and 16 megabyte flash. So if that's the case, this is going to be a pretty nice outdoor camera. The one I've been recommending, the Wansview W7, has not been available on Amazon, at least in the US, for a little while now, and I'm not sure that it's ever coming back. That one had, they upgraded that one to the T23. I say upgraded. It's a newer processor, but it lacks the H.265 support that you get on the previous one, which was the T31L, the same one that this one has. But it was a 2 megapixel sensor, and it's adequate. I use a couple of them, and I think it's fine. But I sure would like something nicer, which this has the promise of being. It's the same for kind of hard to reach screws. Crack, crack, crack. All right, once again, those do not pop right out. All right, here we have T31 is what we were expecting. So that's great. Now I'm going to take a couple photos of this board right quick. This video will end up being repurposed into a normal video, and these will be great photos to use for that purpose. Turn on the flash. There we go. Trying to read the QR code on the board here. All right, let's have a quick look at it ourselves. Do we have our UART? We do. We've got 3 UART pins right here. So we're not going to get to that quite yet. We're going to have a little look at what this thing does on the network. I'm going to show you guys some new toys. Now, after my last real security related video, which YouTube decided was a step too far, I'm a little gun shy on sharing too many details of this new tool, which is available at my GitHub page, and needs some documentation updates, but it's there, it works. We're going to use it. I'm not really going to talk about how it works or what it does. You're just going to see the results. But it is a custom built tool just for IoT type security. All right, go ahead and plug in our power cord. Got a nice green light. Oh, I meant to look and see if that antenna is real or not. We can tell from the photo. Let me pull that picture back up. One of the antennas I think is real. I don't know which one, but we'll come back to that. All right, as that boots up, come over to the manual here, and it should tell us what app we need in order to use it. Blah, 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 what's included, setting up the system. Oh, they have their own branded app, the AOSU app, at least according to this. Go ahead and get my tablet out here. They do give you a QR code to find it. Oh no, I pulled off my screen protector a little bit. Can you read? This tablet does not have a rear camera. I don't think it's going to pick up the QR code. All right. Never mind on that. We'll just go to the Play Store. AOSU. Oh, AOSU app for Android. Here we go. All right. While that downloads, let's go ahead and change. Well, I'm not sure the best way to share this. Got multiple views I could be showing. Anybody over in the chat, let me know if the streaming quality is looking good for you guys. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these. This app is taking a while to install. Let me get my tool running over here. All right, now we still have the camera. We're gonna switch away from here and switch over to here. Come over to here, and here is our terminal and any information you would need about the application we're using, you can see right there. All right, the app is installed. First thing I'm going to do is switch my Wi-Fi network on my tablet to a special network that I have set aside just for these purposes. All right, and we are connected. Then we want to make sure it's working. Yes, it's working. All right, now we're going to open up their app, which is AOSU app. It would be nice if I could show both of these at the same time. Oh, they want me to log in with a phone number. That sounds like a bad idea. What if I don't want to log in with a phone number? You know, we're going to try something. Instead of jumping right into their app and creating an actual account, let's look back at our top down here. Now here we've got a Wi-Fi network that I don't recognize that has excellent signal as if I was sitting right next to it. So let's check this out. Get our details of this network. This is 192.168.175.1 is the IP address. See if we're greeted by a login page. Oh, unreachable. Well, that's not what I expected. Stay connected, yes. Yep, 175.1. These usually will run a web server on the device. It seems like it does not. Nothing there either. All right, we're gonna have to go through the app, I suppose. It's not ideal, but taking one for the team, you guys. We'll look more into that once we've got the factory firmware. AOSU. If I can stop tapping out of it. Joe. User. And sure, that's our country. Maybe it doesn't need. Oh, it's just going to ask for a password. Let me give it a password. It has all of the criteria in it. All right. Then they want an email address. guessing they won't mind Mailinator. Make you enter it twice. And I agree with your terms of service. Sure. Why not? It's not allowing me to continue to the next page. It's also not giving me an error. It's just silently not allowing me to do it. Oh. I wonder. We'll just run over here real quick. Make sure these things are working. That appears to be working. More or less. All right, come back over to AOSU. All right, I think we'll have to give it a real email address. Or at least we're going to try. Continue. This thing is no bueno. We're going to try swap it over to normal Wi-Fi. All right, it's doing something that doesn't like our little diagnostic thing over here. So we're just gonna try Mailinator again. All right, let me get my code for Mailinator. Verify your email for your new account. Okay, verified. All right. What's the password again? Log in. There we go. No, we're not going to save. All right, we're going to go back to our wonderful Wi-Fi. And we're going to come over to this guy. Oh. What goofy stuff is this doing? We'll just jump out here again for a second. All right, wants to scan QR code on the device, which is here. Okay. Now it says I have to press the reset button until beep sounds and the green light flashes. Green light's already flashing. There's beep. Continue. All right.
The camera is connecting to your Wi-Fi network. It may take a moment. Please wait for a while.
Okay. I don't know if that's true or not, but waiting and seeing. Well, so far, I don't know if I've got something wrong with this tool. I wonder if I needed to change this one permission. We should be finding out anytime now. We're still waiting, even though it says it's connected. We'll check out the router, see if it knows of anything.
The setup has not been completed. Unable to connect to the Wi-Fi network.
Let's see if that showed up in our clients list. I'm thinking no, it did not. We'll try this one more time. flashing blue. All right, yeah, something goofy is going on with this. I feel like I'm going to end up wasting lots of time trying to make this work.
Connecting to your Wi-Fi network. It
Great.
may take a moment. Please wait for a while.
Let's see how it goes. If this doesn't work, we'll unplug it and we'll jump over to the Flash programmer. Which I happen to have right here. Not particularly sure this is going to work out. Got some questions over here in the chat. Wise v4 is not going to be supported unless someone leaks Wise private keys, which is unlikely. All right, we're going to call that one a fail. We'll use that tool again sometime, but I'll have to make sure I've got all my ducks in a row first. Go ahead and kill tablet, killed power to the camera, and let's take her apart. This time for real. Make sure you guys can see what's going on here. Join in the fun. I wonder what it takes to drop that base off. That really gets in the way. Let's just eyeball that real quick. I see one Phillips screw holding this to the base. Since we're taking stuff apart, it's a different size screw. I need a different size screwdriver. It'd be nice if this let the whole thing lift off. It does not. It's still something else holding us together. There's a second screw. All right. You can just kind of pull that off to the side. And then the whole thing comes out. So there we go. Now I want to know which one of these antennas is real. So we're gonna figure that out. I'm pretty sure one of them is a dummy. There we go. There's the bottom. And then the base here has several screws holding it in place. Like that screwdriver. What's this one? These are really well seated screws. For these guys. Last couple of cams I've done videos on. I didn't actually publish the disassembly. And nobody complained about that. So I'm not sure how much people actually enjoy taking these things apart versus just seeing them once they're apart or once they're hacked. One more. Thing's got a big old gear that it pivots on. That's pretty nice. Most of these just use a little bitty weak motor off to the side. It doesn't really have any oomph to it. So among other things, if it's on something that vibrates, you'll actually see it start to drift without even moving. All right, this gear assembly is even lubricated. All right, so yep, as I thought, we have one antenna wire and the other one's a dummy. So we're just gonna try and pop the dummy off. Try and do it without breaking it. There we go. All right, put it back together, this side of it at least. We're obviously just getting started. Oops. There isn't anything else down here that we'll need access to. These are definitely bigger screws than you usually find in these cameras. And this one, this is the AOSU, but presumably the build is exactly the same for everything except for the system board on the other one. And the AOSU was almost $10 cheaper than the DEKCO when I bought it the other day. But you know, Amazon prices move around. So don't take that too much to heart. I would say once we have a working firmware for the new variant of the DEKCO, that it won't really matter. Although the T23 does not have the H.265 encoder that the T31 has. So if that's important to you, I would try to get the AOSU and hope that they continue having the T31 for the foreseeable future. I found in practice the T23 is a newer chip and it's a bit more efficient power-wise, and most people aren't using H.265. So I think for a lot of people, it's going to be a wash. Okay, how does this guy go? Is there a guide here? I think it should be approximately there. And we get these screws, smaller screwdriver. This does kind of notch in, although it didn't notch into a place with screws. That's a good spot. Looks good. So if you have one of these, you shouldn't really have any need to take this bottom part off, regardless of what we end up doing for the install process. I would say I'm pretty confident that our worst case on this is a flash glitch install, but I always prefer to have something that doesn't require any disassembly if possible. All right. Quick eyeball of this thing before we take it the rest of the way apart. Got motor, Wi-Fi antenna. This will be the power. That'll be the speaker. Take out the 4 corner screws holding everything in place. Usually on these cams, there's one size screw that they use everywhere. This one, every screw area seems to be different. There we go. Got the board. And so there is a connector on the front here to all of the LEDs. Go ahead and disconnect it. And this will be to the microphone. Go ahead and disconnect that. So go ahead and get a picture of the front of the board here. Hopefully we can find a nice SD card only method for this guy, because you got to take it down to this level to get to the flash chip, which, I mean, it's pretty doable, but pain in the butt. All right. Now, first thing I want to do is try to set up a UART connection. And it just so happens I've got my pogo pins here. See how well they line up. looks like it's going to be perfect. So the order we have is ground, transmit, receive. And we're going to start at the far edge. We're going to say white is transmit. So we set that up, then we match it over here. So on this side, white needs to go to receive. It's already there. So that's great. Move this guy over here. We're just going to see if it happens to be wide open, which is unlikely. Get aligned our pins. What do we got over there? There's a plug over there. A little sketch. Scooch just a hair. All right, let's fire up our Minicom. All right, that's the okay. Like, what's going on here? I have stuff on Minicom, but I'm not connected. It's because I have an additional serial device. It says TTY USB 0. Let me switch you over to our screen capture so you can play along at home. All right. Now, where is my power cord? Go ahead and log this. And see if we get the first try. We do. All right, I didn't hit anything in time, so it's booting right to the factory firmware, which you can see here. But you see, there's our sensor, is SC3336, which is what we expected to see. And it's initializing stuff. We've got a login prompt. We do not have a root password. There. It's not blank either. So we're going to reset it just to see if we can break into the U-boot. I was not able to get to quickly enough. Nope, there's no delay on that. So it does not give us a chance to break in. We're going to have to modify U-boot in order to get in. So I'll go ahead and pull the power off of it. And we'll switch back over to our bench cam. Hello. All right, go over to our next USB peripheral. Oh, here we go. Here we have our CH341A flash programmer. This does have the voltage mod, and I have cut the power pin on the clip. If you're going to use one of these, you should do both of those things, or you'll regret it. So we'll put the clip on the flash chip. Sometimes it takes a couple attempts to get this right. And we'll go ahead and jump over to the terminal here. There we go. And we're going to run flash ROM CH341A underscore SPI. We're going to read. And this is AOSU.1.ROM. Did I miss anything? It's been a while. Hasn't been that long. All right, I got to tell it which chip we have. And usually, like, I could look, but usually you can just pick one because they're basically going to be the same. And here we go, reading. So this might take a couple of minutes. It is a 16 megabyte flash chip. And what we're going to do, we're actually going to read the chip twice and make sure that the images match before we continue on. Now, what to do in the meantime is the question. Let's, oh, that doesn't work. I think I've lost connection to my normal webcam. My cable's bad. Check out the chat. What's going on over here? I got a couple folks in here. Yep, let's see. Flying Rick, I've seen another YouTube channel where he pulls firmware from the chips with desoldering. I definitely do that as well. I've got a hot air station that kind of blows the chip right off. The clip is just way more convenient because look at all the time I save not having to do that. Is the dummy antenna legacy thing or a symmetry thing? I don't know, but like I got a bunch of those. If you saw my video on the Joanne A2R-U, both of the antennas are fake and they're just decorative. I don't know why they put them there. They just do them. But it's, I don't know. I feel like if it doesn't do anything, it shouldn't be there. It's a waste of time. P says AOSU did not seem to be available in Canada. That is possible. You might go and see if the DEKCO is, because we'll have support for that one soon. We just don't have it yet. Do I have a link to both of those mods for the Flash programmer? On the Thingino wiki, there is a link for the CH341A voltage mod, and I used a slightly different version of the mod than what we list there. Oh, hang on, we're done with the first read. Let me start the second one since it takes a couple minutes. So let that go. But ultimately, the issue is the programmer itself can operate at either 3.3 or 5 volts, and the way that they designed it, it's actually like that's just for the power line, and when it's programming, it'll program at 5 volts even if you've got it set to 3.3. So the voltage mod is fixing that and running 3.3 to the programming pins. The other part of that for disconnecting the power line, the reason you do that is if you're using the clip to plug into a chip that's on a board, the power line is usually going to try to backfeed the rest of the board and power up whatever your device is. So you really don't want that. That's going to lead to corrupted images, or potentially the whole process could crash. I don't think it'll really like break anything, but it just won't work. So just cutting the pin that goes to power is the way to go, and that is pin 8. So when you're looking at the chip, the dot is on pin 1, and you count counterclockwise, so go around the chip the other direction and you get to pin 8, and I just cut the wire, like nothing to it. You can also, if you don't want to cut the wire, you can modify the little board that goes into the laptop or into the programmer, and that works too. There's a bunch of ways to do it. It's simple. There's also several different software packages that you can use. Paul, who's kind of the main guy for the Thingino project, he's got one in his repo. I'm going to butcher the name because I don't remember it. We're going to look real quick. He actually forked one that's called Snander and removed all the extra stuff to make it work with technology that we don't run into, and also removed all of the code for running on Windows. It's called Scriba, S-C-R-I-B-A, And I'll go ahead and post I'll see if it'll let me post a link. I mean, it's my stream, but we're gonna put it in there. So that's not what I'm using, but that one does work. And I've actually got some patches I need to submit for that to make it a little bit nicer to work with. All right, let's check these. We're gonna use MD5 sum to compare, and they are identical. So that's great. We know we got a good read. Whenever you're doing a read, that's what you want to do. You want to read it twice and you want to compare, especially if you're using a clip, because the clips can be a little sketchy. Now we're going to do a extract with binwalk. Give it verbose mode, we're give it ME, and we're going to do aosu.1.rom and see if we can easy mode through this. Would be nice. Being a 16 meg flash, they have a lot more room for shenanigans, most of which we shouldn't care about as long as we get the root and app file systems. So now we've got these two. And yeah, there's a bunch of file systems in here. First thing I want to do before we do anything else, I'm going to look at U-boot. So I'm going to just manually extract that one myself. Okay, so it's always the first 256K of the image. So we got that, and then like this is the super low tech way of doing it. We use strings, pipe it into less, and you can get more in depth, but you get a lot, you get pretty far just using strings, piping it to less. So you see we already have some human readable stuff. We're not going to see anything immediately, although interesting stuff here. Like what I'm looking for is file names and passwords, and of course the U-boot environment, which we'll get to in a few more pages. But strings basically goes through the file and finds any groups of printable ASCII characters that might be text, and as you can see, a lot of it's not text, but we'll get to some in a second here. You can tell it how many characters in a row you require before you count it as text. But yeah, so here we go. Here's our default U-boot environment, and nothing too interesting. So our partitions, we've got 256K for U-boot. We've got 1792K for the kernel. We've got almost 6 megabytes for the root file system. You got an Etsy and you got a factory. We're gonna page down a little more in here. Still looking to see if we have a file name. A lot of these, like the ones based on WANSView or the umbrella company that owns WANSView, whose name I couldn't tell you, they use a file name of v4_all.bin, and if it sees that file and it's the right size, it just flashes the whole chip. And so that's a really easy flash method for getting Thingino onto those devices. There's a few cameras that have similar deals. Those tend to be very reliable, where if you look at like Wise, they have a more complex system where they're looking for a special file name, and they load it looking for a kernel with a init ramfs built in, and that one is a bit more error prone, unfortunately. This text is a little odd. I'm wondering if this is actually an encrypted SPL, or an SPL that loads an encrypted bootloader. Or not encrypted, compressed. Because this should all be like easy plain text. stuff here, and that's not really what I'm seeing. Like, these should be complete strings, not a string and also some garbage. But then, like, here's a bunch of readable stuff, and then it stops being readable. It's not what I expect. That's interesting. I wonder if this is an encryption key. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that. That gets a bit more involved. All right, here is their configured U-boot environment, not the default. And so they've got a couple extra commands in here. NT BT init, NTBT boot. So their U-boot does have commands for trying to do an update if there is one. But you have to get into the bootloader in order to access that. So I'm pretty sure that what we have here is an SPL that's loading a zlib compressed bootloader. So we may dive into that. Let's see if we need to. We're going to go ahead and jump into their file systems. Let me check on our chat right quick. I got another guy in here. All right, anybody got any other questions? Just throw them in the chat. I will do my best to keep up with them and answer anything you guys throw at me. Let's check out our Squash FS root now. Nothing in Etsy. It must mount something else there. Whoops. Etsy default. All right, now I like to start in the init script and see if there are any opportunities there. Let's check out RCS. That's not much to see. RCS is just loading the rest of the scripts. Start with S. So we'll look at devs. That one does nothing. It's all commented out. Look at this one. It loads modules. So we've got a tempfs being mounted. We're loading some environments. We're adding ZRAM. That's cool. ZRAM is a compressed swap area that's actually stored in memory, which has been getting rather popular these days. They use it in Chrome OS. All right, so we've got these are loaded. These are loaded. So we'll come back to these in a second. We're going to keep going through the scripts that are actually in here. We're going to look at network. We're particularly interested in anything that might touch the SD card. They will oftentimes have diagnostic scripts or even potentially like just a straight upgrade file name in there, which would be great. Nothing great there. Look at this one. All right, so here's something interesting. If you see this, if exists mount SD card auto run.sh, then if command -v whale, or if not -e auto run. So if this file exists, then it does not run these things, but it also doesn't necessarily do anything with this. Like, I kind of expect to see this is going to exist somewhere else, but I'm surprised there's not an else clause in here. That would have made most sense. But that would be awesome if we find something that makes this run. All right, so we saw a few things in here. Watchdog.sh. See if we can find it. All right. All right. Didn't really expect to see anything good in here. But let's see what other scripts are in there. Remount, restart Wi-Fi, Watchdog, Z block dev. That'll be the ZRAM. Format SD, remount SD. Let's look at that. That is just mounting. But it's mounting at, so it's interesting because here it's mounting it at temp MMC block 0P1, where the other thing was looking under something mount SD card. Let's see if we find anything else in here. Let's look at sdcard.sh. So SD root is such and such, counting partitions, copying log, inserts. If exists, temp, GZ, etc., all run enable. So that's something we need to look for, is if that is existing, or where that's decided. Do auto run. So, all right, so there are conditions that if you meet, it looks like it's going to run this, but this has to be set to something. So, do auto run is Y if, or do auto run is yes if we meet these requirements. So where do we get this GZ etc? All right, we're copying that from there. And those are the only occurrences. We're going to look for it on the rest of the card. Whoops. All right, S90 application. Whoops. All right, so we're copying a link from Etsy to GZ Etsy. And auto run enabled does exist here. So that's a good sign. So I think that might be enough for what we're trying to do. And it'll be pretty easy to test if that's the case. Let me look again at, I think it was SD card here. So how do we trigger this do copy log? Like, is this just happening automatically? So this is in do insert. So if our device is this, we're going to run do insert. So that's nice. Do insert. All right, and that. All right, if do auto run is 0, then do log is 1. All right, so if you don't have auto run in there, let's see. Do auto run is 0, so the file doesn't exist, and it's going to set do log to 1. If it does exist, then it's going to run that auto run. So that's straightforward. Let's get an SD card together. We're going to try this out. Just so happens I have an SD card someplace right here. Now I'm going to try this both ways, because if it's going to drop a log file on here without me having to do anything, that's worth knowing. And if it's going to run our script when a file does exist, that's worth knowing. Let's see, Flying Rich, is this BusyBox Linux? This is indeed. All of these cameras pretty much are going to have BusyBox, because they have to operate within just a couple megabytes of storage for the entire thing. Let's go ahead and we're going to make sure I'm looking at the right block device before I go formatting. All right. Dev SDA1. Got a nice clean file system there. All right, we're going to undo our clip. And let's switch back to the overhead for a second. You guys can see what's going on here. So I've got our SD card that is blank. And actually, I'm going to power the camera up, and we're going to drop it in after it's had a chance to boot up to not being able to do anything. So let's apply some power. Don't think I unplugged anything that's going to stop that from working. Just the lights on the front. There was a click. It's the IR cut. Should do the motors in a second here. Might already be doing the motors. I don't know. It might not even do the motors. I feel like that's enough time. So we're going to pop that in. We're going to give it about 15 seconds. We're going to pop it right back out. P says, have I had time to work on the Q3R? I have not. I haven't had my bench set up until like 10 minutes before I started this stream. But I will be getting back into getting more videos out for sure. All right, we're going to pop out the power, pop out the SD card, pop it in here and see if we have any data on it. Folder is empty. All right, so nothing was written to it after that. There might be something else that needs to trigger to make that happen. So let's jump back over to our terminal. All right. auto_run.sh. And let's look again at SD root is this. Actually, we're going to the message to temp. The message.text. Now, in theory, plug this back in. I wonder if actually it's a mistake and I should have booted with the card in place. But we're going to try it both ways. Kind of playing it loose and fast here, so we don't necessarily know some of these things. We're going to pop this in. We're going to give it a second. If it's done with the auto mounter, then it should be done. Let's see if there's any files on here. If it's done at boot, then I'm going to have power off. All right, so nothing was written there. We're going to try booting with it. We also, of course, don't get any feedback at all. Hey, Lee, how's it going? So in theory, it should only take 10 or 15 seconds for this to boot up enough to have done the deed. Power it back off. See if we have a file. And we have a data folder. We do not have a file. Well, that was unexpected. I thought we would have a file. You know, mounted from its current spot. And we're going to look at our files some more. Go back to our terminal. All right, so there are additional file systems on here, and it is possible that this is not the file system that ends up mounted at Etsy. Let's see what else we have in here before we jump out, though. We do not have a password. We do have a password. And we have a shadow. So this is a 3DS password that in theory we can throw Hashcat at and get in a reasonable amount of time if we need it. So let's check out squashfs root -0. And this might just be, whoops, might be exactly the same thing. That's the same password. And we still have that auto run enable. Look at our application here. And this all looks about the same. What do we got here? There. Mount SD card autorun.sh. But that's not where we mount. See if that shows up anywhere else. Okay, our mdev automount.sh. All right. So this is running autodomount.sh. What do we got here? Mount directory is mount SD card. And so if we have auto_run.sh, then we're going to run this. safe run.sh. There's nothing there. All right, so it looks like that's actually going to source our file. So let's look at that again. All right, so that's going to source mount dir autorun.sh. So this is telling me we're actually going to be a mount SD card, which contradicts what we saw earlier, but let's try that out. First, we'll power up the cam while we're doing that and see if it works. Autorun.sh. Whoops. Wait. I think it might have actually tried to do something. All right, let's come back over here and look. Make sure we're doing this right. I totally jumped out of where I was. mdev safe run. It's called by auto do mount. So mount SD card. Make sure it's clean. Move dirty bit. Oh, and I already did do that. All right, we're gonna pop this guy in for a few seconds, see what happens. You don't need to chmod it because the file system is a FAT file system and it does not support executable bits. So everything is automatically 777 on a FAT file system. All right, we're going to pop it back out. Pop it back into our laptop. Mount and open. All right, we still don't have anything. What are we looking at here? All right, you guys still have the terminal, so that's good. All right, well, since it is sourcing it, we actually don't need our shebang. But I'm surprised this isn't working. Go ahead and unmount it, and we'll try and boot with it. I'm still not clear if this is going to pick it up while it's running or not. So go ahead and do that. And let's give it a minute. I should really put a reboot in there or something so we get some kind of indication that something's happened, but it's all right. All right, pop the card back out. Jump back into Linux here. Mount and open. We still don't have anything. That is surprising. SD card dmessage.txt. I expect that to have done something. So let's look at our scripts again here. See if I'm missing something. So we're mounting at SD card. Checking for MMC block 0 in proc command line. Oh, let's look at that. That's going to be in our bootloader environment, which I might not be able to get without decompressing the thing. Let's just go through this a little more. Are we actually using that variable? I don't think we are. Oh yeah, here we are. All right, let's have a look here. See what we can see. One too many. Actually, I wonder if Benwalk can automatically extract that. That'd be nice if it could. Probably not. We're gonna look. Oh. Yeah, it's LZO still. This might actually be good. All right, hang on. We're gonna look at this for a second because this looks like it is the uncompressed bootloader, and I didn't have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get to it, which is ideal. So we're just looking for any information that might lead to a flash file, bootloader password. I don't think there's going to be a bootloader password because I think they've just got it fully disabled. But if there's a usable flash file name in there, that would be nice. Like for sure, U-boot has all of the functionality built in. It's just a question of if they programmed in to look for a magic file name and automatically start the process. Boot delay, boot stop key. There might be a key press that gets you to break out. Maybe. There's some MMC stuff, Ethernet stuff. This device obviously doesn't have Ethernet. Definitely doesn't have gigabit Ethernet. More Ethernet stuff. All right, so here's our command line. And the command line does not include, I believe it's not going to include MMC block 0 on there, so it's actually going to be skipping all of those things. Let's keep looking. I've got this MMC update if we can get into it. And we've got, check this one out. These two out, I should say. Now, why are there two? We're going to try one of those in a second here, since I have the factory image red. I'm not at all concerned about bricking it. Well, let's go back there so I can copy that file name out. Like, it'd be too easy if that did it, but it wouldn't be the first time we had one like that. So now this is the part that bugs me, is if they're actually checking an encryption key here. But we'll see. Still looking for anything that might indicate a U-boot password. We're at the end. All right, so for giggles, we're going to grab the firmware file, the Thingino firmware file for this guy. This is the AOSU C5L. This one, go over here. Are we not in the SD card anywhere? All right. We're going to grab this file. Now, I feel like the underscore F indicates like a full or something. So we're going to start with that. I'm also going to look at, look at this auto run and see if there's anything else that maybe I can change on this to make it more likely to work. I don't really think so. We're going to unmount that dude. And we're going to pop the card in over here. Jump back to the overhead. You guys can play along. We don't need the Flash programmer anymore. Instead, we'll set up our UART. Don't mind me getting in the way here for a second. Gotta get it just right on here, which is, should be there. All right, switch back over to our terminal. Got Minicom. Plug her in and see what we get. And we're immediately booting, so it didn't give a crap about that. I definitely did see. Oh, this is interesting. Device busy and then mounted and then remounted. Not sure what all that's about. Let's scroll up and see if we get any messages regarding our magic file. No, there's nothing. So it's not automatically looking for that file name. Let's go back through here again. This all looks right. This all looks fine. This 90 application, we're mounting here. It mounts over and over for some reason, or at least we get messages about it mounting over and over. It says auto login as root, which did not do. And dead in the water for some reason. Did I bump something? I don't think so. Oh, we're just gonna power off and back on again. I'm pretty confident that we will figure something out on this, even though we haven't yet. I think we're not quite perfectly aligned on this UART. All right. I made it fall apart there. All right, well, we tried a couple non-passwords. They don't work, of course. So it's interesting. We do see MMC block 0P1 adding, and then mounting it at temp failed, device or resource busy, because it's already mounted somewhere, presumably. But let's go ahead and power it off. Look at our card again. Yep, just the files that we put on there. All right, we'll look a little bit more into this guy. And we'll go back over here. Okay. Minus Z, I believe, is if it doesn't exist. Let me run the man page for bash. I wish there were a quicker way. There probably is a quicker way to get to the conditionals. All right, that's a string. I need a file. Or no. Yeah, that's right. So if the string length is 0, then this returns true. All right, so this is saying MMC device is MMC block 0. It gets that prompted up. Then we're gonna cd dev. We're gonna list all the partitions in there. And for device, we're gonna do func mount dev device. But that's interesting. Why do they need to do that if there's multiple partitions? So this actually looks like it'll work if you don't have a partition, you just have a raw file system on there. But we definitely fall into this, so this will be MMC0 or MMC block 0 P1 is what we'll see. That'll come into this list. It'll come into func mount. Mount the device at mount dir -t file system, which will be either vfat or exfat. I wonder if my FAT16 is throwing it for a loop. I am using FAT16. Let's reformat our SD card. And same one we already have. Make it a .vfat dev SDA1. Auto underscore run dot sh. This is sourced, so we don't need to add a shebang. We're going to start with mount SD card. Whoops. And we're going to the message into mount dir slash the message dot text, and let's do a reboot because that'll indicate that something has happened. Pop the card out. We're gonna pop it into the camera. And let's boot her up. Oh, I should have put my UART back on, but I disconnected it. We'll just wait a second here. All right, so while that's going, let's check out the chat. Lee, everything is going good over here. It was a beautiful day today. Had a beautiful day yesterday out fishing. Today we got to eat some of the fish. P says, what pogo pin is that? This one actually has, how many are on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this has 12 potential pins on it. But I got this off AliExpress for just a couple of bucks. Definitely worth it for connecting to these UARTs. All right, so I didn't hear a second click from a reboot. So we're gonna pop the card out for a second. We're gonna pop the card back in. See if anything happens. That way we've covered both bases. And I still don't hear any clicks, so I feel like we're still not getting anywhere. Go ahead and pull the power. Pop the SD back into our laptop here. I'm sure we get the sad failure. We do. There's nothing on the card. Go back over to their script, which is somewhere. No. All right. For device and MMC list. We're going to do that, and then we're going to do this. And this is going to safe run mount dir auto underscore run dot sh. That really seems like it should be working, you guys. What's run flag? How's that used? If run flag exists, then exit 0. Otherwise, run flag. So that's making sure it only runs once. So that's not stopping us. All right, let's check some of the other files on here. Etsy helper. I think this was just copying a bunch of stuff from Etsy default. Yep. So that's overriding all this stuff in case we happen to have changed it. I wonder if Hijacker will work on this. That could maybe simplify some things for us. We'll try and run Hijacker on it. I don't think I've got it. Oh. I'm sure it's on here someplace. This should be it. Yep. Oh, no errors so far, so that's a good start. Usually if it's not going to work, it doesn't work right away. But it seems so far things are going well. This is kind of a magic script that Paul wrote where if you've got a Ngenic based camera and it follows some basic conventions, it'll go ahead and enable some stuff for you, blank out the root password, allow you to log in, add telnet, and do some other things too. Well, that seemed like it worked. Why don't we write that? My writer takes forever. Let's jump over here for a moment. And what was Paul's thing called? I don't remember. I thought I had it installed, but when you use flash ROM for this, it takes forever to write. Like it would probably be faster to download and install Paul's. So we're gonna do that. Oh, here we go. I already have it. All right. All right, that went to user bin. All right, go ahead and kill that one. Get our clip back out. The only thing I don't like about these clips is they're kind of fragile. They don't last forever. All right, we're going to write. AOSU. Are we on the right thing here? No. You're watching my hands instead of the screen. That's no fun. All right. Describe AOSU 2.rom dash patched. And I think that would be all we need, except device not found, so my clip's probably not on quite right. Usually what happens. Oh. Or I plugged in my UART instead. All right, there we go. So Scriba, it's still not the fastest thing in the world. But when you use flash ROM, it'll actually write, or it'll read before it writes, although it doesn't save what it read anywhere. It's not the best user experience, that's for sure. I've had it take like a solid 15 minutes to write one of these 16-bit chips using flash ROM, and that's just too slow. This is too slow, but it was way too slow with flash ROM. While that's going, eyeball the rest of this manual. What do you have to say for yourself? Nothing. It says don't put the camera in direct sunlight. Make sure to have it 7 to 10 feet above ground. Test your Wi-Fi signal at your installation position. I wonder if DEKCO has their own app too. I'll try and slide that out without disturbing anything. Yep, download the DEKCO app from the App Store, which I'm assuming is exactly the same app. The hijacker script is in the scripts folder on the Thingino repo on GitHub. And it really simplifies this part of the process, being able to get actual shell access into the device before you've actually replaced the firmware with something else. Like, you can do all the steps it does manually, but this is, I mean, you saw it only took a few seconds to run. Takes a lot longer to write the image than it does to create it. But it is a super cool script. Let's check out some of these other file systems that are on here while we're waiting. We've got all these JFFS2s, which are usually going to be your application. But this looks like it's got some nonsense in here too. Same password in the shadow file. Nothing interesting in there. Yeah. Tuya. I need to install SQLite 3. Like, this laptop is dedicated for hacking stuff. So I don't have all my normal development tools on here. We're going to look at Tuya, user.db. What is it? Tables? No. Oh, file's not a database. All right, so it's not a SQLite. blah, blah, blah. Some kind of table-based thing, I would guess. Yeah, there's not much in here. All right, let's check out the next one. Looks the same. Well, that looks the same, looks the same, looks the same, looks the same, looks the same. They all look about the same. All right, well, that wasn't so interesting, was it? So we've got squash fs root and squash fs root 0, which are the same. So I'm assuming they are actually same contents. Let's see if this thing runs a web server. I keep forgetting it doesn't run that. It might not. There's no HTTPD in there. No HTTPD in there either. So it might not. Nothing in there at all. Yeah, nothing interesting there. Why do they have a conf file in here? All right, well, if you name your network that, and you set up the password as that, it'll automatically connect to it. That doesn't help you. How's our flash going here? It's around here somewhere. Oh, so it's done. All right, let's switch back over to that then. Pop out our programmer. Take off our clip. We're going to set up our pogo pins right quick. You guys have seen me do it 3 times. You can skip forth, I think. That's on there pretty good. Move some things that are in the way. It's plugged in. Here we go. Minicom. All right, power. We scrolled up. We are. Here we go. All right. Well, I got nothing. Nothing is not what I expected. I expected something. Let's try it again. Oh, I've fully unplugged 2 of the 3 pins on here. Uno momento, por favor. Which way do we go? Transmits next. Pay no attention to the noise. That should be good. That's going to receive. Either have it right or I have it backwards. Let's find out. Got it right. All right, so it couldn't mount the file system. So it looks like it was no good anyway. I'm just going to try some key presses and see if anything breaks into U-boot here, since we're broken anyway. All right. So hijacker didn't work despite looking very good. Go ahead and flash the factory image back onto it, which will take just as long as the last one did. All right, let that go for a little while. Hey, Ivan, how's it going? It's definitely a lot faster than Flash ROM. Flash ROM is so slow, but that's Paul's branded flash tool. It even says Thingino. All right, so I really need to figure out why this is not running my script that I put on the SD card. But let's see if there's anything else we can find on here while we're waiting. Actually, I'm going to do a little grep. All right, so MDev is watching for the SD card to be mounted or to be plugged in, and it's running sdcard.sh. This is the one we were looking at. Temp UNC block 0P1. We'll just go through it again. So we're looking at product partitions, looking for MMC block. We're getting the last one. There's only one partition. So we continue on, go past the functions. If action equals add, which is what you get when it's plugged in. What's the minus B? If it exists and is a block file. Okay. So if it's interesting. Well, does that make sense? Minus B, if it exists and is a block special file. What other kind of file would it be? Let's look. Is the SD card in here? Did I lose my SD card? All right. It is a block. Why would that? All right, I'm trying to figure out the logic on this one, guys. Oh yeah, I can totally do it that way. What I'm trying to do is find a way to do it with just the SD card. And there is some logic in here that should be working, but I'm pretty confident that I can use the flash glitch to get it to boot from SD recovery, and that should work just fine. It's just in order to do that, you have to take this thing pretty far apart. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, so it's not what I'm hoping to release to the world. Let's see if this gives us information on scripts. I probably can't find it here on Gen 2. All right. MDiv like a boss project. Notes and scripts. All right. I'd really just like the MDiv documentation would be great. There we go. Too many clicks to get to that. Next time I'll just ask ChatGPT. MDiv config, don't need all that. Looking for scripts and variables. That was not helpful at all. All right. I don't know if MDiv is poorly documented or what. Really just want to know if it is, oh, that's not all helpful. MDiv script environment variables. Okay, well, we get all that. All right. So I was concerned that this was going to be the case, that MDiv is going to be coming in that way. So MDev does appear that it's coming in from, quit it. No. It appears it is coming in with that variable set to the device. That was really all I wanted to know out of that. Which would mean, am I in the right one? Insert. I think I'm in the wrong one now. This is done, by the way. So we're ready to go there. All right. Adding. If there's block device, something with P1. So I think that is going to be if it's sending that the device appeared rather than one of the partitions. Okay, so that's got to be it. Then if partition count is equal to 1, well, see, that doesn't make sense. How are they getting part count? Part count. It's not count at all, it's count. Yeah, okay. So that's going to be 2 because it's going to have the device and it's going to have the partition. That's going to look like, come over here and I'll show you. Partitions, so like on this one, the SD card is SDA, and you see it shows up twice, there's 2 lines, so we're going with 2 on that. All right, so there's 2, which is this block. We're gonna sleep for a second for whatever reason. If it's this, which it is, they're going to mount it here. However, this is a weird script. How are you going to have an else if it's 2, but then else if it's this, then you do this. But these are doing the same things. Like they're all doing exactly the same things. So it's going to mount VFAT. Maybe I should try forcing the character set. That's going to do insert, which is up here. This is this logic, do auto run. So it's checking for this to make sure this exists, and it's checking for this to make sure it exists. If both those do, then do auto run equals 0. We already know that this one exists, and this is the one that we add ourselves. But that's minus S. So let's look at what minus S is over here. If it exists and has a file greater than 0. So yeah, we're good on that test. So if do auto run is not equal to 0, we're going to check and auto run. So what's SD check? All right, so that's a command that's running. It's not a function that's in here. So let's look for that. That's an executable. That might actually have some stuff going on in it. Looking for sdautorun.conf. We might end up dropping that into Jira. So I for sure have not been looking for an sdautorun.conf. So it seems like that maybe needs to exist on your SD card. sdautorun.com. Actually, we'll put something in there just as a gag. So I think it's going to be looking for something in that file. It's probably not this, but that's what I'm putting in there. Good, unmount that. We're done with our flash. So we're going to jump back over to our UART. Get it set up. It's good. Programmer out. UART in. Back to Minicom. Make sure you guys are still seeing me. Yep, there we go. All right, here comes the power. Oh, got nothing. Something's wrong. Not on my pin right. All right, and here comes the power. There we go. Oh. Well, that's not what I expected. Surely I didn't flash the wrong file name. I definitely did not do a verify. Oh, let's do it again. Get our flash clip. Unplug, replug. This time we'll give it the extra thing to verify. Go back over to our scripts here. Yeah, so I think that SD check is our kicker. Thought I had Jitter already installed. Well, I'm not going to try and install it while we're working here. That's going to kill my internet. But I really thought I had already. U-boot. Oh, I think we still got it over here. Very interesting. Yeah, this looks like it'd be pretty easy to figure out, this little block here. autorun.conf. What do you guys think? You think that'd be tough? Or you think it'd be easy? I do have Jitter on my other laptop here. Maybe I'll have a quick look. At least I thought I had it. I for sure put it someplace. Yeah, hopefully this one will validate correctly. We'll be good to go. And I guess it's possible that it's getting the chip wrong since Flash ROM was getting it wrong, but seems unlikely. It's definitely maybe a little bit more involved trying to get into Jira today, though. Somebody new over here. We're doing our read to verify. Somebody had a Wisecam V2 that failed to flash. Unfortunately, those wise cams have a non-zero failure rate on flashing. Definitely not a device that I recommend, but once you get the flash to work, they're reliable enough. Well, this reads as slow as it writes, so we're going to come back over and look at this some more. I can't imagine it's just going to look for this string. Like, what are these other strings? These are obviously text in here. Yeah, I was wondering why I was writing the name of the SD card to this temp SD name. Now we know. So we'll poke around on this for another couple of minutes, but then we're going to try a SD recovery method to get Thingino running on here and check it out actually running. Oh, status bad. It failed our verify. So that tells me I should probably try flash ROM, which is going to make me sad. Let's see. Flash ROM. I need to run sudo. And we're going to do programmer ch341a underscore SPI. We're going to write. I think we go to help for something that's supposed to tell it. I wanted the help first. I think there was something in here to tell it not to read before writing, but it still would do it. Yeah. All right. All right. Flash ROM programmer ch341a SPI. We're going to write, and it's going to be AOSU.1.rom, and it's going to tell me it's mad about the chip, so I have to tell it. I gave it this one. Yeah, see, like this part, I don't know why we're doing this. Because Flash ROM hates me. SD name. I'll look for sdrrun.conf. It's got two strings. The first one's definitely just plain ASCII. The second one is maybe less obviously plain ASCII, and you don't get a null till you get to here. But it kind of reads like it's expecting, I don't know, if this is a scanf and it's looking for two strings one after each other, that's odd. So it's probably not a scanf. And these look like languages or regions. Oh, but I'm confident that's what's keeping it from running. And I'm not confident that what I've added in there is going to help. Pretty confident that it won't. Almost done with the read. Almost ready to start the write. Yeah, this says read, but it's actually on the write process now. But it's very slow. See what else we can find in here while we're waiting. What's in here? Nothing. What's in here? Nothing. What's in here? Nothing. What's in here? There's lots of nothings in here. All right, so we do have flash erase all, but we don't seem to have flash CP, which is what you would normally use for writing. Yeah, so we're going to have to apply our own flash CP if we can get past this script blocker. Although it might actually be in BusyBox and they just don't have a symlink for it. Somewhere in here should have all of the applets, just right here. And yeah, this looks like they do not have flash CP. Crazy. All right. It's not the only device where we've had to ship our own. Funny, makefs.fat is not part of BusyBox. Any movement here? No. All right, so it's on the verifying stage. We'll get there eventually. Yeah, not a whole lot to see on here. All right, so IPC is the main application that this thing runs. getting along there. Sometimes you can find something interesting running strings on these, but we're really just waiting for our flash to finish. Just got program code. All right, it says it verified. It says we're good. Switch back to UART. Good. Plug. Go over to Minicom and apply power. All right, this time it's booting all the way up. All right, see if we get any log entries when we plug in our SD card. There we go. Card inserted. Ignore. Yeah. So that ignore on this one, that's it saying just a device. Then it's adding the partition, says it's ready, says it's mounted. And come back over to our script. Dev, and then it's auto do mount .sh. Nope, it's not that one. It's running. Oh. Yeah. SD card.sh. Yeah, so we get the log adding. And where's our Minicom? Oh, one more. And then we get ready, then we get mounted. All right, so ready is from here. Now, what's this SD log dir? Can we trigger that? GZ_log. So I think we can at least prove out that that works if we create this GZ_log. So we're going to pop our SD card back into our laptop. We can mount it open. Still nothing there. And I think we need that to be a directory. Where is that? Looking for that. Log dir. All right, so that is expected to be a directory. Vector media GZ_log. Oh. All right, we're gonna pop this dude in. Let's go back over to our Minicom. Card inserted, ignore, do some other stuff, copy log. All right, so that definitely worked. Wonder what logs it has copied. I don't know. Put out back into Linux here. Mount and open. GZ log. Now there's a bunch of crap in there. All right, we're going to check those files out right quick. All right. Nothing in there. It's that same database stuff. IPC log. Some blah, blah, blah. Scan QR is going to be a lot of that because there's no QR code in front of you. All right. UID is some identifier that's not for us. Version. All the stuff that's running. Yeah, it's interesting. Most of these cameras do run web servers. This one definitely does not. Also does not run a telnet server, which sometimes they do. All right, next step, we're going to write ourselves a card for Thingino. So first I'll go build a profile in my Thingino installers. And we're just gonna find one that we're putting a U-boot into. Saves some time. This one will do. So we're just gonna copy it. Do AOSU. What was the model on this one? I've forgotten. C5L. Do. And we're going to get asset, and we need this firmware. So this script I'm working on here is something I wrote that just quickly builds all of these firmware files for all these supported cameras. And then we're going to rename this guy to auto update dash full.bin. Get back out. And then we do our add U-boot, and we need exactly this line. Close image. C5L. See if I got it in one go. This is nice because it allows me to do these very quickly. Oh, I didn't make this directory. do it again. All right. Oops. Now we'll write this to our SD. So this is a 128 megabyte image, so it won't take too long to write. And you guys will get to see my amazing skills at sorting flash chips. Get my flathead screwdriver, which is around here somewhere. There we go. Do a little syncy sync. It's taking a while. I did not expect that to take more than a second. All right, done now. It's still mounted. That's bad. We better write it again. You should not run DD on your devices while they're mounted. While this is going, I'm going to attempt to flip the camera upside down to expose the flash. Make sure I still have working UART. I do. Oh, I don't think I can show you both things at the same time. It's all right. I'll switch once we get past the first step. All right, SD card out. Try not to disturb the UART connection here. Power. Plug in the SD. Bring this over to Minicom. Switch you guys to overhead for a second. All right, so I got my screwdriver. I got my pin 5 and 6. And I feel like I've probably moved those pogo pins trying to achieve this. There's like 3 hands worth of stuff. I've got 1.5 hands to use. Here we go. Oh, I missed. Barrel plug is not as straightforward. That's what I usually do. There we go. All right. So I know you guys didn't see it, but here we go. So basically what we did is we glitched the flash at power up, so it looks at the flash to see if it has the signature of the bootloader, and if it doesn't, then it starts trying its backup methods, one of which is looking at a special spot on the SD card, and if there's a bootloader there, then it'll boot it. So we put our Thingino bootloader in that spot. We put a auto update -full.bin in place, and the bootloader will see that file, and it'll go ahead and flash that file to the flash. All right, that thing moved around a bit, and I think it probably knocked our UART off. It's doing the sweep. Right, do we have, nope. Try here. Nope. Oh, it pulled the wire off. All right, here we are in Thingino. Let me go ahead and switch to the overhead. We will real quick provision this dude. Oh. I got a bunch of emails since I started this. All right, looking for our Thingino network. Which I don't see. There it is. All right, let me provision this guy real quick. All right, it's going for the reboot. Now what I'm gonna do once it's done powering off, which is roughly there, I'm gonna go ahead and undo some of this stuff and get the cam basically put back together, because we are approaching the end of messing with it for today. So first thing I need to do is figure out what happened to its face. Probably knocked it off the edge. It is. So I'll get this thing running again, and we'll look at what the camera can actually do. Am I still on terminal? No, I'm over it. All right, we've got two connectors. Make sure they go in the right way. Ding-a-ding. The camera itself, is there an indication which way it goes? Yes, the SD card slot. That's line up. Always take your SD cards out before assembling or disassembling. Otherwise, you will break your SD card slot. I may have done that a couple times. All right, now this has 4 of these black screws to hold it together. So far, I've found 2 of them. Any other black screws to be found? One. How's that Meatloaf song go? 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Then we determine which way is up. This piece is not so obvious. This could go either way. Yeah. All right. Well, this definitely goes that way. Reset button, I think, should be at the bottom. I think it goes this way. Drop in a couple screws. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Screwdriver. All right, and then this guy. Sleeve. This one seems like you just kind of brute force it into place. There we go. Let's power it up. Now I want you to notice here which antenna I removed. This one actually has a wire in it. This one was a blank. All right. I kind of feel like it's upside down. Let me think about that for a second. Nope, the way I assembled it would not change that. But it's in the least useful orientation, turned away from everything. So let's try the button, get its IP address. Rubber plug is tough. All right, ready for my favorite feature? Uh-oh. Oh, somebody else said their sound didn't work on theirs. All right, need to figure that out separately. I'll have to get its IP from the router. Give me just a moment. Admin panel, login, clients list. All right, now I know its IP address. I lost it. Where'd you go? 195. So let me set this thing up right quick, and I'll share some video from it. I believe I can pipe that right into OBS. It would really like to get the time zone set first. Thing there. We'll get this out of the way. And, whoa, I should be careful with moving this thing. You'd think I'd have learned my lesson by now. But I'm not. Oh. All right, we want settings, our TSP access, take channel 0. And let's see if I can add this into OBS. This will be a media source. It's not a local file. It's one of these, no buffer, no reconnect delay. All right, let's see if it shows up. Oh, nope. Well, doesn't seem like it's working here. I thought this would just go, but it's not just going. All right, let me try it as a VLC media source. Do I have VLC installed? I do. Playlist. I've never done it this way. Let's see if this works. Interesting. Yeah, that doesn't seem to work. All right, we're going to do it this way. Screen capture. Well, all right, so here's the preview page. For some reason, the stream's not playing. Let's see if we have this. There we go. Maybe. Oh, this part is working fine. See if up and down works. Yep. Up and down works. All right, well, I'll have to debug why this part's not working. But the web interface is good. Oh, you guys didn't even see that. Yo, try it here. First off, this wasn't working for some reason. But here is the preview page. So that's all working great. All right, so I'll do a little bit of diagnostics on this guy, I guess. But I think for now, that's going to wrap up what we're doing with it tonight. And we will pick it up at some point tomorrow. And I'll fire Jadra up on that executable and see if I can figure out how they're validating that it should be running from the SD card. I feel like that should be pretty straightforward, but who knows. Go back to here. What's we got? This one. Oh. Yeah, I think OBS has just gone weird on me. So I'm over here. My webcam's not working. All right, anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this stream. Gotta go do some dinner. And we'll holler at you guys next time. Hope you had fun, and we'll get this thing done. All right, take care, everybody. See you next time.